Hello guys, welcome back. So, so we have one more important topic in testng.xml in testng, that how to pass parameters by using @parameters annotation. So they might ask you at a time of interview that what is @parameters annotation in testng, and how will you configure your environment variables and configuration variables in testng.xml with the help of parameters tag. Okay. So this is again one of the important topic, but it's very simple. But you should know that what exactly the configuration and what is the sequence you have to maintain. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so what I'll do in this particular test package, this let's see, I'll create another in src folder. I'll create another package. Let's see, my package name is parameter test package, and let's see, com dot parameter test. I'll write like this, com dot parameters, something like this. I'll write and click on finish. And in com dot parameters, what I'll do, I'll create a new class. Okay, and let's see, my class name is parameter test class. Okay, don't select the main method and click on finish. So this is my class, right? So what I'll do, let's see what exactly we are going to do that. I'll show you one thing. This is my, let's see, Firefox, and this is the Yahoo page. Okay, login.yahoo.com. So we will simple enter username, and then we will click on next, then we will enter password, and then we will click on submit button. Okay, so there are three things. We are going to enter URL, then username and password, and we know that, okay, URL, username and password, these three things will be common, okay, throughout my framework, throughout my script. Okay, so obviously URL is not going to be changed, so I'm not going to maintain that particular URL in Excel, in a script. Okay, so so what exactly I'm gonna do, first I'll create one test case, simple @test. I'm not going to write @before method and @after. If you want to write, you can write it simple. We will write, let's see, public void, and my method name is, let's see, Yahoo login test method. Okay, and Yahoo login test method, I have written, and I'll initialize my WebDriver here, something like this. Just define the WebDriver instance, don't initialize it. Okay, and initialize here is equal to new Chrome driver, and @test annotation is available in testng, and Chrome driver is available in Selenium, so just import it. And before that, we have to configure uh, Chrome driver.exe file also, so that we have already covered in the previous section. So I'm gonna write this Chrome driver.exe file path also in the form of system property. Okay, and after that, I'm gonna launch my URL. So my URL is, let's see, this login.yahoo.com. Okay, so this is my URL. So far it's fine, and then we will write our script for username. So let's see, I'm gonna enter my email ID, and this is the XPath I'll be using. So let's get this XPath, and simple driver dot find element by dot XPath, and dot, first I'll clear it and then I'll enter. Okay, it's a good practice whenever you are using any send keys, better first clear it and then pass the send keys. And what exactly the value, let's see, my value will be something like this, username, but I don't know what will be my username. Okay, that we will define. Or let's see, I'm gonna write, let's see, some username, test @yahoo.com. Okay, fine, and then we will click on next button. So this is the XPath of next button. So simple, I'll write a driver dot find element by dot XPath and XPath of next button and dot click. Okay, so let's see, I'll enter test, let's see, at yahoo.com, and let's see, I'll enter something like this, which is the existing one. Okay, let's see, I think, okay, so let's see, I'm passing Naveen. It's asking you are not a robot. Okay, fine, we will do one thing, we will just enter only email ID and we will click on this button. Okay, forget about, because I don't have any correct password and correct Yahoo account. Okay, so we will just click on the username, we will enter the username. Okay, and we will just click on next button. That's it. Let's make it simple. Okay, now this particular username I don't want to hard code over here. Okay, I don't want to, let's say tomorrow it's test123 at the yahoo.com, and tomorrow let's say it will be Naveen at the yahoo.com or some other username. So this is not a good practice that you are providing your username directly in your script. No, we should store somewhere in a common location. Either you store in properties file, or you can pass it from testng.xml file also. Okay, now I'm gonna create my testng.xml file. So this is the file I've already created. So let's see, I'm gonna delete this file first, the existing one. Again, I'm creating for you guys. So let's see, under my src package, src folder, I'm gonna create my, just go to other and click on file. I'm going to create my testng.xml file. See, testng.xml file is what? Testng.xml file is very important file, where this is also called template file, testng template file, or we can say runner file. Okay, so this file is used to execute all the test cases one by one, all the test classes one by one. Okay, this is a complete definition of how many test cases you have written, and if you want to execute in a single shot, you can write it. That's why this is also called template file, testng template file. And it's up to you, whatever the name you want to give, testng.xml or testng suite.xml. Generally we give testng.xml. Okay, so let's create this file, and this is the XML file. So what you have to use the XML file format. Okay, so I have this format already with me, and we will do one thing, we will take this thing from here, and you can, no need to remember, all these things, so you can pass like this. And what exactly I'm gonna do, so first let's see, this is my suite name. Let's see my suite name. This is a standard format, this is a standard format of testng.xml file. First you have to pass what exactly the XML version and XML schema, doc type, and then suite name, then test name. Okay, suite is the parent tag, is starting here and ending here. Then test is the another tag, starting here and ending here. And then let's see, my suite name is, you can give any suite name. Let's see, Yahoo app, something like this, test automation suite. Okay, and my test name, let's see, Yahoo app test. Okay, this is my test name. And how many parameters you want to pass? I want to pass two parameters, URL and email ID. I want to pass URL and email ID. And what exactly the class, and my class name is, this is my class name. Okay, not this is my parameter test is the class name, so we have to give the class name also. Okay, this is my class name, but this class name parameter test is available where? Parameter test is available in this particular package, so we have to give the package name also. Okay, so we have to write like this, com dot parameters dot parameter test, right? So don't write src dot, simple write what exactly the package name. My package name is com dot parameters, okay, don't do any spelling mistake, dot parameter test, and don't write dot java. Okay, simple write parameter test. Okay, and these are my two parameters. So how to define parameters in testng.xml? By using parameter tag. So we have this parameter tag. Okay, there we have to give, let's see, my parameter name is URL and this is my value. So we have to define like this: what is your parameter name and value? What is your parameter name and value? If you have, let's say, 10 parameters, then you have to write 10 different lines over here. Okay, so simple. Let's see, I want to pass only two parameters. So in that case, I'll be using two parameters: name, value, name, value. Name, first name is URL, another name is email ID, and respective values I'll enter over here. Okay, like this. And what exactly I'm going to do here is, after @test annotation, okay, what we have to write? We have to write @parameters. Okay, @parameters annotation you have to use. In @parameters annotation, what you have to do, you have to write bracket like this, and we have to pass different parameters. We have to pass like this, just right angular brackets. And what is your first parameter name? We have to pass the name. My first parameter name is URL in double quotes, URL, comma, and the second parameter name is email ID. So this is my email ID. Okay, like this you have to pass parameters, and it's giving some the attribute, value, annotation type, parameterized dot. Just a minute. Oh, see, it imported from JUnit. We have to import it from testng. Okay, so make sure you are importing it from testng. The proper import, okay, should be okay. Earlier, it automatically, sometime in Eclipse, it gets imported from JUnit, but you have to make sure that, okay, we are importing from this annotation is coming from testng. See, testng annotations dot parameters. Okay, so always remember this thing. Now we have two parameters, URL and email ID. Okay, so what exactly I'm going to do here is, so instead of this hard-coded value, okay, I'll remove this hard-coded value and I can pass the URL directly over here. This is my URL. Okay, but what we have to do inside this @test, okay, inside this @test method, this is my method name. What we have to do, we have to define two parameters, a string URL and a string email ID. Okay, so what exactly it will do, it will, in testng.xml we have two parameters, URL and email ID. And we have to define parameters. So it will automatically, it will link to testng.xml. It will go to parameter section, and the first is URL and another one is email ID. It will take the value, okay, the URL is yahoo.login.com, whatever, it will given to this particular string variable, and email ID will be given to this particular variable. Okay, if you have, let's see, three parameters over here, then you have to define three parameters over here and three variables also in your test case also you have to define. Let's see, tomorrow we have password also. Okay, name equal to password, and password is something, value equal to test123. In that case, you have to define one more password attribute over here and one more password parameter over here also. Okay, it's one-to-one mapping. If three parameters, then three test parameters. If 100 parameters, then 100 test parameters. Okay, so this particular URL, we can use it over here while launching the URL, and same email ID we can use instead of this test@yahoo.com, we can use it over here, email ID. Okay, so let's see, test@yahoo.com, and then click on next button. Simple. Okay, now what you have to do, this is my testng.xml file, just save it and right click on your testng.xml, and we have to run this file. Okay, if you run this file, what exactly it will do, first it will launch Google Chrome, enter the URL, and then it will try to enter email ID, and it will try to click on next button. So let's see, run it. Okay, So see, it's launching google.com, sorry, Google page, and see, it's entering, although this username is incorrect. So it's entering Google browser, Chrome browser, entering yahoo.com, and entering the value from here. Okay, see, this is so cool. So these things are called environment variables. See, what do you mean by environment variables in automation? Environment variables means these variables will be general for throughout my program. These general variables will be used by each and every class, and these are very generic variables are available in my framework, like username, password. Let's see, for your application, username, password will remain same. So nobody's going to change username, password. Let's see, tomorrow I have shared my code, and tomorrow, let's see, some other guy in my company, he is going to, or he or she is going to execute, okay, automation script, but he or she needs his username and password. So what exactly they have to do? They have to provide their respective username, password. So instead of going into the script here, okay, so better we go to testNg.xml file, and they will change it over there, right? Now another example, very good example of most of the people, some people, they write like this also. They define browser parameter also over here. Okay, let's see, my parameter name is browser, and my browser value is Chrome. Okay, and so I'll write my logic over here. So I'll define one more, okay, browser, one more parameter, right, and string browser. Okay, now this browser value will be picked from here. So the value is Chrome. So Chrome will be given to this particular variable browser. And then I'll write one condition over here. If browser dot equals Chrome, then initialize Chrome browser, okay, and launch the Chrome browser, right, like this. Okay, else if browser dot equals Firefox, then we have to launch Firefox browser, but for Firefox we have to use Gecko driver, right? So Gecko driver we have already covered, so I'm just writing the code over here, and instead of Chrome driver I'll be using Firefox driver class, right? So we can write this logic in the form of if else condition. If, so let's say tomorrow you want to execute your code on Chrome, so simple, go to testng.xml and change the value to Chrome, right? And you want to execute on Firefox, so just change the value to Firefox instead of Chrome. You can write Firefox like this, right? So this is very generally, most of the people, they use browser variable also in testng.xml, and you can define the logic like this. If else condition you can write like this, simple. Same thing we can write for Internet Explorer and Safari also, you can write. And then you have to launch your URL, and obviously URL, okay, is also coming from testng.xml. So these are called environment variables, like your browser, URL, email ID. Okay, these things will be common for everyone. So browser, okay, will be common. Okay, so we can consider these things, it's a generic thing. These are the generic common environment variables or configuration. I would say more technically, these are configuration variables. Okay, so either you can define in config.properties, or you can define in testng.xml also. Let's see, some people, they write like this also, on which environment you want to execute, right? So let's see, my environment, env environment, and my environment is QA. Like this also you can define like this. Okay, so these are the different parameters you can define, right? And let's see, one more parameter I'll define. Okay, string environment, right? So let's say in most of the companies, whenever we are doing automation and running our automation test cases or manual test cases, we are executing on dev environment, QA environment, staging environment, right? And then production environment, like this. So you can define the logic like, okay, the environment is QA, and you can write URL of QA environment like login.yahoo.qa.com, something like this. Same thing for staging also you can define. Okay, so the environment, on which environment you want to execute, on QA environment. What is your browser? My browser is Chrome. What is your URL? What is your email ID? What is your password? So these are my, this is not my test data. Okay, I'm not going to fill the form with these values. Okay, so these are not my test data. These are my configuration variables. These are my environment variables. Okay, so that's why I call it environment variables. Okay, and then you have to just write the class name, which class you want to execute. But inside the class you have to use @parameters annotation and define all the environment variables over here. Okay, so we have given Chrome. Okay, see, I have given Chrome, so the browser value will be Chrome, and this particular value will be, see, it's one-to-one mapping. Browser will be given to second variable, browser variable, and browser dot equal Chrome, then it will launch Chrome driver, and then it will enter the URL and enter the and fill the form or whatever email ID and password and other things. Okay, so let's run this program once again, and you can directly run it from here also, and you can directly run it from testng.xml also. So let's run it here. So if you see that Chrome is getting launched, and then it will enter username and clicking on next button. So how I got to know that this is the Chrome that it has to launch, because it's coming from here. Okay, so this is a, most of the 90% cases you will see similar kind of configuration in your company. If you join some automation project or automation some company where automation things are there, and if they are using testng, so either they have defined something in config.properties, or they have defined like this, okay, in testng.xml, or maybe in config.properties. So if you remember, I have already covered that how to read config.properties file. You can watch that particular video. I'll quickly show you that, okay, what exactly we have to. So this is the read properties file. So config.properties file we created in Selenium sessions. So see, this is the config.properties. So we were defining what is your URL, what is your browser, what is your username and password, right? So there are two ways. Either you can define all these environment variables, again these environment variables, in your config.properties file, and in some people they use it in the form of parameters in testng.xml file. But if you're using this, then in that case you have to use @parameters annotation. Okay, so please practice. This is very simple, but yes, definitely they will ask you at a time of interview that how will you drive the data. Okay, this is another approach of data driven. Ultimately you're driving the data from testng.xml. So there are certain ways. Okay, so these are the certain ways are available. That the first way is, so data driven approach is always like this. See, data driven can be by, the first is, let's see, Excel file. Okay, something like from properties file. Okay, today we have learned that how to get the data from testng.xml file also. Okay, some people they use some other different XML files, or some people they store in JSON files also, some data, or maybe from databases also. Okay, so ultimately we are driving the data from different resources. Okay, driving the data from different resources, and these resources can be anything. It can be Excel file, properties file, testng.xml file. Okay, testng, not okay, testng.xml file, or maybe some XML file, JSON file, or DB files, or DB, I mean, sorry, the databases. Okay, but the very popular way is these three things: Excel file, properties file, and testng.xml file. In properties file, generally we can store our environment variables, and we can store object repositories also. Okay, and our test data also we can store. In Excel file we store the entire test data. In testNg.xml file, again we store only environment variables. We don't store test data in testng.xml. It's up to you. Okay, it's just not a good practice to store test data in testng.xml. In XML file, JSON file, and DB also, we can store our data, test data. So please practice. This is again the kind of data provider, again kind of parameterization. Okay, how to parameterize your test case with the help of @parameters. Okay, annotation. So that's all for today, and please guys, there are a number of videos are coming in my channel, and please subscribe this video. Please click on the subscribe button. So far, thank you so much that 501 subscribers are there, and I'm working upon n number of videos which will be published very soon in next week, and good interview questions on Selenium, and very good other framework designing approaches like page object model and Maven, Jenkins, GitHubs. A lot of videos are coming soon on SOAP UI also, and web services testing with the help of Java and other things. So please subscribe the video and press the bell icon to get some amazing videos on Selenium and automation. Okay, keep learning and keep sharing. Thank you so much.